Here's something that's been keeping business owners awake at night. According to QuickBooks' latest study, nearly 3 out of 4 small businesses are struggling with cash flow. Not failing businesses, regular, everyday businesses that should be doing fine. And here's the kicker. Federal Reserve data shows most small businesses are waiting almost a month to get paid, while they're expected to pay their own bills in half that time. You're literally paying everyone else faster than you're getting paid. But here's what really caught my attention. The majority of businesses that close their doors aren't losing money. They're making money. They just run out of cash first. Think about that for a second. Before we dive into why this is happening and how someone figured out the solution 3 centuries ago, make sure to subscribe. What you're about to discover has been hiding in plain sight this whole time. So why is cash flow such a nightmare for so many businesses right now? Well, it turns out this isn't actually a new problem. Business owners have been dealing with this same challenge for hundreds of years. And there's this one guy who not only figured it out, but did it so well that they put his face on money. Benjamin Franklin. Now, most people know Franklin as one of America's founding fathers. But here's what they don't teach you. The man was a business genius. Franklin started with absolutely nothing. By the time he was in his early 40s, he'd built such a successful business empire that he could basically retire and spend the rest of his life doing science experiments and politics. And he did this during a time when there were no banks, no business loans, nothing. Pure cash flow management. What's fascinating is that Franklin was obsessed with the same problems modern business owners face today, and he wrote extensively about the solutions he discovered. Solutions that still work. Here's what Franklin understood that most business owners today are missing. The first thing he noticed: businesses fail because they confuse wants with needs. Franklin put it this way: our necessities never equal our wants. Basically, we always think we need more than we actually do. Think about your own business for a minute. How many subscriptions are you paying for that seemed essential when you signed up, but haven't actually moved the needle? That premium software package when the basic version would do the job. The fancy office space when your customers never visit. Franklin had a simple test for every expense. Does this directly help me serve customers or make money? If the answer was no, it was a want, not a need. Modern research backs this up. Businesses that regularly audit their expenses this way typically find they can cut unnecessary costs by about a third. The concept is straightforward. Treat every expense like an investment. If it's not generating returns, why are you making the investment? The second insight Franklin had: timing is everything in cash flow. He figured out how to get paid before delivering the full value, instead of waiting until everything was complete. Here's how Franklin did it with his printing business. Instead of printing newspapers and then collecting payment, he sold annual subscriptions up front. People paid him a year's worth of money in advance, and he delivered the newspapers throughout the year. Smart, right? He flipped the traditional model. Instead of fronting all the costs and waiting to get paid, his customers were essentially financing his operations. Now, this doesn't mean you need to go to annual subscriptions for everything, but think about it. What can you do to get paid faster in your business? Maybe it's asking for deposits on larger projects. Maybe it's offering a small discount for quick payment instead of waiting the full payment terms. Maybe it's restructuring how you deliver value. The principle is simple. The faster money flows into your business, the stronger your cash position becomes. Franklin proved this works across any industry. Franklin's third principle: you can't manage what you can't see clearly. The man was fanatical about tracking every penny that came in and went out of his businesses. But here's what made Franklin different. He didn't just record the numbers. He asked questions about them. Why did this expense generate more return than that one? Which activities actually moved cash flow forward? What patterns could he spot in his best and worst months? Most business owners today know their monthly revenue, but they couldn't tell you their average collection time, or which services actually make money versus just keeping them busy. Franklin would have considered this flying blind. The idea isn't to become an accountant overnight. It's to spend some time each week actually looking at where money is coming from and where it's going. When you start paying attention to the patterns, cash flow problems become much easier to spot before they become critical. Here's Franklin's most counterintuitive insight. When cash gets tight, most businesses cut the wrong things first. They stop investing in learning, training, better systems. The very things that could help them generate more value per dollar of effort. Franklin did the opposite. Even during his toughest financial periods, he continued investing in knowledge and better methods. Why? Because he understood that knowledge was the one investment that couldn't be taken away from him, and it directly impacted how much value he could create. This doesn't mean spending money you don't have. It means being strategic about what you cut and what you protect. Invest in anything that makes your business more valuable to customers or more efficient to operate. But Franklin's biggest insight was this: cash reserves aren't just for emergencies, they're for opportunities. He called it defensive wealth, but it served two purposes. When Franklin's competitors struggled during economic downturns, he had the cash to buy their equipment at discount prices. When great employees became available, he could hire them immediately. When suppliers offered bulk discounts, he could take advantage. Most businesses think of cash reserves as money just sitting there doing nothing. Franklin saw it as ammunition for the right opportunities. Now, building cash reserves when you're already struggling with cash flow might seem impossible, but here's the thing. It starts with small, consistent steps. Even setting aside a small percentage of profit each month begins building that foundation. So here's Franklin's framework, adapted for modern businesses. Start with what Franklin called the reality check. How long can your current cash reserves actually cover your expenses if revenue stopped tomorrow? If it's less than a few months, that's your priority number one. Next, apply Franklin's necessity filter to your expenses. Go through everything you're paying for regularly and ask the hard question. Is this essential for serving customers and generating revenue? Or is this something that just makes you feel more professional? Then, look at your payment timing. Franklin got paid upfront whenever possible. What can you do to speed up how quickly cash comes into your business? This might be the single most impactful change you can make. After that, start building what Franklin called defensive wealth. Even small amounts, consistently saved, start creating options you didn't have before. And finally, protect your ability to learn and improve. These investments in knowledge and systems are what separate businesses that just survive from those that actually thrive. Here's what's interesting about Franklin's approach. It's not about being conservative or playing it safe. It's about being strategic. Having the financial stability to make smart decisions instead of being forced into desperate ones. The businesses that come out stronger from tough times aren't usually the ones with the most advanced technology or the biggest marketing budgets. They're the ones that understand cash flow management. Franklin proved that these principles work across centuries, different economies, and completely different industries. They're not trendy business tactics. They're fundamental truths about how money flows through businesses. Look, cash flow problems feel overwhelming when you're in the middle of them. But Franklin's framework gives you a systematic way to address each piece of the puzzle. You don't have to fix everything at once. Just start with one area and build from there. The man on the $100 bill didn't get there by accident. He understood something about business that most people miss. It's not how much money you make that determines success. It's how well you manage the money flowing through your business. If this gives you a different way to think about your cash flow challenges, please subscribe and give it a like. And if you're dealing with specific cash flow issues, drop them in the comments. Sometimes the best solutions come from business owners sharing what actually worked for them. Thanks for watching. And remember, the secret to better cash flow has been printed on your money this whole time.